Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce myself. My name is Nadia Islami. I come from class 21 TBI 4B. Okay, on this occasion, I will provide some comments on video debate on the topic of this house support should juvenile felons be processed just like adults.
Now, felonies are occurred with intelligent methodology and their methods are getting increasingly brutal. For example, at 2015, there was a crime a teenager making a teenage girl insensible and tried to rape her. Thankfully, other people saw it, so the offender could not succeed.
Okay, let's continue to first argument. For the first speaker, I feel the explanation of the motion is still abstract and unclear, and the sound is also unclear. The argument for treating juvenile offenders like adults has several merits. This argument emphasizes the importance of fairness by not giving special treatment to adults based on their age, and then this argument highlights the need to consider the true nature and reason behind crimes committed by adults.
The motion set before the House today is this House should prosecute juvenile felons as adults. We, the opposition, strongly stand against the motion. Before we start, I'd like to define the term juvenile, as is the key.
For the first speaker from the opposite team, I think the way he explained was good, the voice was clear, there were clear reason and evidence, and he is give rebuttals. But there are some drawbacks, namely, first, association with new crime groups. Claims that similar treatment of juvenile offenders will cause them to form new crime groups is not supported by concrete evidence. The second, impact on expectation and the future. This argument does not take into account that lighter or shorter sentence can also give the impression that juvenile crimes do not have serious consequences. And the three, adults can mental maturity. The claim that adults can universally lack the mental maturity of adults offenders does not take into account variation in adults can maturity levels.
Hi everyone, I'm the Deputy Prime Minister of Opening Government. Before I start my presentation, I just want to say that I want to continue that that's just a subjective point of view, and also, he said juvenile delinquents would perform more crimes if they go to the same jail. Well, I think, and you said they will meet gangs and people and related to the stuffs. I think it'll be the same because if you go to a juvenile jail too, you guys can also meet gangs too. I just wanted to say that, so I'll start my presentation. This hat would prosecute juvenile felons as adults. I think, well, there are mainly two theories of punishment in criminal law. Retributivism, the purpose of punishment. Retributivism means we need to retribute enough for what they have done. And the purpose of
Next is a comment for the second speaker from the government team. The drawbacks of this argument is, the one is lack of data and evidence. Arguments that are not accompanied by the data or evidence, which support the statement. The giving the same punishment as an adult to a minor will increase the criminal influence of the adult. Without strong evidence, arguments become speculative and subjective. And the second, overage generalization. Arguments tend to generalize that all minors will be exposed to the crime committed by adults if given the same punishment. In fact, each individual has a different level of maturity and understanding, so the impact of the same punishment can also vary. Under 3, ignoring rehabilitation consideration. This argument does not take into account the rehabilitation aspect of the juvenile justice system. Punishment for minors is unusual aimed at educating and rehabilitation them so they can return to society and responsible individuals.
Dear honorable judges and fellow debaters, I am Yulin Kim, the deputy leader of the opposition, and I'd like to continue the debate. Another reason not to prosecute juvenile felons with the same law as adults is because they're still growing. As we have defined earlier, juvenile teens from the age of 14 to 19 already are punished with the same circumstances as adults. However, those who are younger are still punished under different laws. We see this as necessary. These children mostly live under their parents' roofs, and this clearly shows that they are not fully grown. And
Weakness for the second speaker from the opposite team. The first aspect of the rehabilitation approach. Despite the argument that rehabilitation on the part of the government is more effective, no evidence or concrete reference have been provided to support this claim. In the absence of strong evidence that government rehabilitation is more effective than prison terms, these arguments becomes less compelling. And the second, responsibility aspects. This argument does not consider individual responsibility for their action. If a minor commits an act that is serious and against the law, then there is an aspect of justice in considering the proper consequence of that action. The three does not consider community protection factors. This argument only considers the interest and development of small individuals without regard to the protection of the wider community.
now, ladies and gentlemen, crimes are crimes, and nothing can be an excuse for that, especially age. Even more, the crimes that we're discussing in this debate are felonies, very serious and detrimental to our whole society. In the status quo, the crime rates of juveniles are skyrocketing every day, and we think that our policy can partially resolve this problem in our society. And with that in mind, let me move on to my rebuttals. First, let me point out that prosecution does not mean whether we should give these felons a second chance or not. It's about the process in which we handle these felons, and it's about the way the defendants are treated in court. Therefore, I'd like to again emphasize that
Weakness in the arguments of the three speakers from the government team. The one is unfounded assumption. Arguments which assume that giving a second chance or education is not effective is changing the mindset of a criminal. However, no real evidence was presented to support this argument. And second is ignoring adult scans development. The argument denies the real relevance of act as illegal, yes, but provides not clear alternative.
Honorable adjudicators and fellow audiences, we as an opposition today are not denying the fact that any kinds of crimes or felonies are bad. However, due to the special characteristics of the juveniles, we believe that the two groups of criminals are separated for a reason. And thankfully, at the beginning of the debate, the Prime Minister have already admitted the fact that the juveniles are not mature enough to make any decisions. So before I go on to my argumentation, I would like to make some 3 points before my previous speaker. First, the Prime Minister have mentioned about the attempt of the rape done by the 18 years boy. However, we do not believe that the 18 years boy is fully aware of the possible consequences afterwards, such as pregnant, because as the Prime Minister mentioned, they are not mature enough. However, we believe that if the teenagers are not fully aware of how to deal with their sexual attempts, it is a government job. It is our job to let them know how their sexual attempts can be negatively affect to our society.
The last comments for the opposite team's weakness or shortcoming of the three opposite team speakers include the first, lack of coherence. The argument seems to lack a clear structure and logical flow. It jumps between different points without establishing a strong connection between them. And the second is incomplete reasoning. Some statements in the argument are not fully developed or explained, making it difficult to understand the intended meaning or the supporting evidence. And the three is lack of evidence. An argument lacks empirical evidence or specific example to support its claim. It makes statements without providing substantial evidence or reference. Okay, that's the only comment I can give. Sorry if there's a mistake, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.